how Africa is depicted to the world, what comes to mind? Well, according to a recent research by Media Impact Project, depictions of Africa are broadly negative. Topics tracked across all TV programming, ranging from animals and culture to travel and immigration. Most mentions of Africa were tied to politics at 32%, followed by crime at 16%, while business and the economy accounted for just 8% of all news coverage. Overall, viewers were more than twice as likely to see negative depictions of Africa than positive ones. On top of this, not much of what has been published is homegrown, with 35% of all reports originating from non-African media outlets or news agencies. Now, one of the main challenges cited is the lack of collaboration with local correspondents. APO is a media relations firm working mainly in Africa and the Middle East. They just entered a partnership with Getty Images to change the African narrative and how this is being told through images across the continent. Thank you so much for joining us. Why is Africa depicted so negatively, do you think?
Well, I'm afraid it's come from very long history. I mean, I don't want to go back to slavery or colonization or mention the fact that most of the international media are based outside of the African continent, that Africa itself doesn't have such a international media. So, you know, I think we all know where it's coming from, really.
Makes sense. What is the social and economic impact?
I mean, I think, you know, the communication of good news about the continent, specifically economic news, can drag investment. So, in other words, if international media give a more realistic, a more real idea of the growing potential of the continent, and investors or entrepreneurs in the US, in Japan, in China, across the world can see that, it could eventually, in turn, drag investment to the continent. But everyone knows that. The other thing which somehow people do not need to realize, you know, I'm giving conferences in universities and schools across Africa, is that it has an impact on the minds, if you wish, of the youth of the continent. They tend to undermine themselves because they see that media coverage, which is mainly poor, which depicts Africa as, I don't want to go back to 2008 and the front page of The Economist, the oppressed continent. But it's very much, I mean, the real danger is when the youth of African youth, have that idea, and then in their mind that they are somehow have less potential, when in fact they don't have less potential, they don't have less opportunities.
Mm-hmm. You have gotten into a new partnership with Getty Images. What kind of support are you giving local content creators, and how are you planning on really making a true change in the African narrative?
Well, at APO, we surround ourselves with partners, and the choice we made is very easy, it's very simple. There's different way to tackle that issue we just discussed, different way to influence the narrative about the continent. We choose something very simple. We make as much as possible content available to the international media, positive and neutral content. We are the leading Pan-African public relation agency. We are the leading press release distribution service dedicated to Africa, which means that basically, as you are aware, most press releases are good news. Most interviews are good news, and so we are basically paid to spread the good news about the continent. So when a multinational corporation is investing on the continent, opening a new office, when an African company is launching a new service, we are the one sharing that good news with the world. So we influence the narrative about the continent by doing something extremely simple, but also very necessary, making good news available to the international media so they can in turn publish and air those stories across the world. The partnership we have with Getty Images is very in line with that. With that partnership, all the press releases distributed by APO Group will be made available to all Getty Images subscribers. And so that will in turn make sure the good news about our continent will be spread across the world like never before.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.